Sith's blood. Barely survived that encounter. I'll bring you a new transmission. Vode An.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vode An. Finally, we're back to the Clone Wars. We did a whole detour to catch up for me and Ken, but we're finally back, and I'm so glad we did because today we're reviewing The Defense of Kamino, which is the first trade paperback Dark Horse put out. Chronologically for the comic books in the Clone Wars, it includes Republic issues 49 and 50, and it also includes, I believe it's a miniseries, Star Wars Jedi Mace Windu. Is it a miniseries or was it a single issue? I couldn't really tell.
It's kind of both, where it's like it is a one shot for the characters, but Star Wars Jedi was like the series handle, because there's Jedi Shakti, Dooku, Aayla Secura, Mace Windu. There's actually a cancel one. Daniel Walls talked about it, I believe, where that Bolter Swan was getting, like, I guess popular, like back in the day, like she was like nichely popular. So there was supposed to be a Jedi Bolter Swan, but it never got made. And the same thing with Barriss Offee, like there was supposed to be like a one for Barriss, but it never got made. I think
those would have been cool.
I think it's because like MedStar came out, and it'd be kind of redundant to have like a one shot on her. We can just have like two whole novels about her,
Yep, she got her own duology. But this is great. There's really two stories in here. There's the Kamino stuff, and there's the Mace Windu stuff. Obviously they are. Well, I mean, they're of course continuity, but they don't really build off each other. At least I don't really think it does. But anyway, so I'm gonna give a brief summary of each. Very, very brief here. I don't want to spend 20 minutes telling you the story, but Basic Defense of Kamino starts out with Quinlan and Aayla. Obviously, since we last saw them, it's been a couple years. So, Aayla and Quinlan are kind of finding their places in the Jedi, and especially during the war. Quinlan is running a spy network in the Outer Rim, and it's been really helpful for the Jedi because they're getting a lot of their intel from this spy network. Aayla, on the other hand, is she's kind of like she was at Geonosis. She's on the front lines here, and we actually kind of see that's, I don't want to say a conflict between the two, but it's two different approaches to the war. Quillen's much more in the shadows, and Ayla's on the front lines, which I think is interesting.
I think he's kind of guilt ridden about it. Like he feels guilty that he wasn't there.
He does feel guilty that he wasn't. He didn't know. He didn't even know about it until after the fact.
I mean, that's where his guilt comes from, though. Like his guilt is that he spent years working on the spy network just for him not even to get the important information.
Yep. It was kind of a surprise, what happened at Geonosis to him. And what's interesting, chronologically, Kamino is like the first battle the Republic actually knew was going to happen beforehand, and they actually make that clear in the comic. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, they get intel that Kamino is going to get under attack. So, but they don't want the Separatists to know that they know, because they want to kind of surprise them that they knew, and to have surprise them by having an able force there to counter them. But we end up learning that Dooku and Sidious wanted the Jedi to know, and kind of the reason why is this whole battle, the Separatists were meant to lose from Dooku and Sidious's perspective. They wanted them to lose, and I think the reasoning they gave, I have the book here.
It was so that the war wouldn't end too quickly.
Well, yeah. But
all part of the Sith grand plan.
Well, I mean that is like the extent of what they say. They say that Mirai was too much of an independent thinker. He was too intelligent. So,
Right.
like, if he were to really run the operation, then yes, the war would end like too soon. And they're trying to, like, prolong it long enough for like all their plans to go down, like Ken's saying.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
their whole motivation was just that they just wanted the war to last longer.
Right. And I'm going to read, like I said, I have the book here. I'm going to read just very quickly some dialogue between the two of them. Sidious tells Dooku, he says, the upstarts wishing to displace you will be disgraced when their attack fails. Dooku responds, and the cloning facility on Kamino will be preserved for our use after this conflict is over. The coming battle will compromise and weaken factions that might have proved an impediment to us later. So that's pretty interesting, I think. I just love how they're writing. It reminds me a lot of Thrawn almost. I mean, like,
Thrawn
I think
probably on.
people, Sidious, but like a far superior. And I think Sidious, to me, I know I'm kind of going a little tangent here, but to me, he's the smartest character in all of Star Wars. He's smarter than Thrawn. He's the smartest Star Wars character, and it's just really cool that they're using this battle, this loss for their own means. It's pretty cool.
I mean,
But anyway,
he's a logical manipulator, but like,
exactly.
I don't know, because I mean the quote is kind of just what I was saying. Dooku is like, he's misreading like what Palpatine's getting at. He thinks like there will be like a further future use of the clone facility. Evidently, that's not the case, because we know the case with like the Empire and clones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, like it is really just in the comic, the last line of like what he says is that they did to prolong the war.
Right.
I also kind of think Dooku's.
Well, I was confused because I thought you were like disagreeing, like that being the motivation.
No. I was just elaborating on what you were saying by providing some dialogue from the two and from the story. That's all. I wasn't disagreeing with you.
I also want to say Dooku's misinterpretation of Palpatine's, like what Palpatine's like saying, it kind of feeds into like that Dooku was never really part of the plan to begin with. He was just a pawn. But like, think about Palpatine. Palpatine, like, Dooku was like his most loyal and most like valued pawn, and so Palpatine always made him feel like felt at ease and made sure he was comfortable and like part of the plan.
I mean, he does that in a bunch of the stories where like he just misinterprets parts of, even Revenge of the Sith, the novel, like he misinterprets it. But not to get off track from the summary, like let's continue.
All right, I'm trying to go quick here, but this is so good. Like, I just want to sit and talk about it all day. But the next issue, that was issue 49. Issue 50 is actually 3 stories. There's brothers. They're all interconnected, but it's 3 stories with 3 different perspectives of what's going on Kamino during the battle. There's Brothers in Arms, which is written by John Ostrander. There's Django's Legacy, which is written by Hayden Blackman. And then 3, there's No End in Sight, written by Scott Alley. I don't know who that last person is, but of course I know who the first 2 are. Basically, Brothers in Arms is a Obi-Wan and Anakin story. Just fantastic. It's only a few pages long, but it's amazing. You basically see Ayla like consoling Anakin, and I mean, this is of course right before the battle begins, and Obi-Wan's really hesitant about Anakin. He doesn't really know what to do with him. He doesn't feel like if he's the right pick for him. Well, Anakin is, I mean, he obviously by this point in the story, he had a brush with the dark side with Dooku. He lost his arm. He married Padme. So, and he has to keep all that a secret, especially the Padme stuff. But basically, Quinlan tells Obi-Wan, basically tells him, sometimes you gotta trust him. You just trust Anakin, just trust him, basically. He's not stupid. Well, Ayla's telling Anakin, because Anakin's having a hard time fixing like this droid, but Ayla was telling him that he's thinking too hard on it, and he just needs to not think so hard on it, and it might work out. So they're basically both being taught a lesson. then they get into their starfighters, which what I think is interesting. They're using Delta 7s. Everyone is using Delta 7s, which I think is cool. There's a whole bunch of them here, which I guess makes sense. That'd be the only starfighters that they have. Because Arc 170s, I guess, haven't been made yet. Same with the Torrent fighters from TCW, but anyway, there's big battle breaks out, of course. Anakin, Obi-Wan, ships get shot. Obi-Wan's just shot down, but they end up in the water, and then they get saved, and they go back to Kamino, and this is where we get into the next story, Jango's Legacy. Here, basically, Shaak Ti teams up with an ARC trooper to save a bunch of the the babies that have not been born yet, the clone babies. And then after that, again, I'm skipping over a whole lot. We'll get more into detail when we give our thoughts, but the last story is No End in Sight. This is Mirai's story. We actually get to learn who he is and how he loses, which is pretty interesting. And then after that, battle's over. So the last story, Jedi and Mace Windu. It's a Mace Windu story, obviously, and he goes to the planet Rule, and he's there to meet with a bunch of Jedi who don't want to be generals and who are like refusing to be generals in the Grand Army of the Republic. Basically, he's going there to prevent a schism. Two of the Jedi that are among that group are Sora Bulk, who's like the leader of this group, and he's established as having trained many, many Jedi before, many of whom died at Geonosis, actually. And then you have Kruk, which this is his return. We haven't seen him since Acts of War, right? That was the last time we saw him, I think.
I believe so.
So it's been a while chronologically since we've seen him. But basically, it kind of goes into each of the other Jedi. There's a bunch of other Jedi there. Talking about why they don't want to be generals. Then they get attacked by Ventress. This is chronologically Ventress's first appearance. Basically, yes.
And publishing wise is their first appearance.
Publishing, yeah. We'll get into when we get to the micro series and how this all relates to the micro series. We'll get there when we talk about the micro series, but because this, pretty major contradiction there. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, she fights the Jedi here, and it's a reveal that she is in league with Sora Bulk, and that Sora was trying to actually actively cause a schism. And he turned to the dark side. Mace Windu's Vapad, his Jedi form that he created, actually plays a role in this story. It actually is one of the reasons why Sora turned to the dark side, which I think is interesting. So by the end of it, the other Jedi do agree with Mace to go back to the temple, and Sora escapes. Ventress escapes, of course. So I say escape, but they escaped. But that's it. That's basically the story. I don't think I'm missing anything. Obviously the details, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I loved it. I think that this is a great story. I'm tired of talking. Ken, do you want to give your thoughts on the book, man?
On which story? Want me to go first?
I mean, you can go in order.
Okay. Quinlan Voss, Ayla story, I think was it feels so seamless, I think is the best word. It's just like we go from reading Rite of Passage and then now we're in the thick of the Clone Wars, and it just feels like a seamless transition to like their positions in the war. Like Quinlan's out here doing his spy network. Ayla presumably is on the front lines before she goes to this mission. I think, but think the real kicker, the story for me was this new girl. What's her name? Is it Carisi?
The girl that was
Colleen. It's Colleen.
Colleen. Okay. Yeah, her. I mean, it's stated outright, like toward the end of the comic, that she's in love with Quinlan, and I think that's going to be interesting moving forward. I personally love a good romance, so I hope this is like well written. I hope it's. I don't know if it's gonna be like a major focus, but I'm just a sucker for romance.
It's not like top 10, but it's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, like I'm just a sucker for romance, so I hope it's decent. But
it's decent. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's like their relationship. There's not enough issues that really flesh it out. I guess that's the best way to do it.
Well, I guess I'll have to see when I read it. But do you guys know the name of the Falling? Because I forgot his name, but he was interesting. Like, he was so cool.
I don't remember his name.
His name is I got the book right in front of me. It is Xenix. Yep.
Dude felt like Zizor light with his whole like pheromone manipulation. Dude was trying to like get. I already forgot her name. Oh my god.
Colleen.
Gotta bookmark that, but Colleen.
Just think Kathleen without the damn TH.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Kathleen Kennedy. There
basically, Colleen Kennedy. But like, it's just the fucking extent that like falling pheromones have like on people. It's just like wild to me. I don't know if this is the only time. I mean, I guess not counting the Shadows of the Empire like comic, but like especially seeing the pheromones affect Jedi. That's so cool to me. Like, just another alien race that can like kind of fight Jedi, like toe to toe, using their own like race's abilities. I think that's really cool. Too many times, like in media, I see Jedi just like stomp, like Jedi and Sith and Force users. They kind of just stomp their opponents, and it's nice to see like races that can stand toe to toe with a Force user.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like Quinlan Vos and Ayla, they beat the guy. Ayla kills him. She kind of fends off his mental advances and then kills him. But I also like the way this comic was drawn too. It's very grungy, grimy, and kind of like reflects the just Quinlan. It kind of reflects the mind. It is beautiful, but it reflects like Quinlan's whole mindset. Like to me, I was like, just like, oh, this is like Quinlan has been the Outer Rim just for they mentioned in the comic. It's like, is this 2 years into the war, or is it a couple of months?
This is 3 months into the war.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing a line.
His spine network for 2 years, but this is only.
That's what we were talking about at the beginning, where I was explaining that also, like, you know, his guilt comes from the fact that he's been collecting information for those 2 years, but it was all like red herrings. Like none of it was like actual important information about where, you know, genocide happened, the whole launch of the Clone Wars. Like none of that. He didn't get any of the important parts. He just got like bullshit.
Yep.
I kind of want to like actually go into that for a second, because like that kind of stood out to me. Because like you have these Jedi. I mean, Quinlan already isn't your average Jedi. He's had several brushes with the dark side. He had to deal with his own memory loss and like that whole dilemma. And now this dude is thrust into like a position where like he's been fucking dealing with all this bullshit, and like he's had this spy network, he's built it up for 2 years, but he's not getting anything of value. It's all bullshit. It's all misdirection, and it's like I can only imagine how he must feel. Like he basically all of this is seemingly for like nothing in terms of what he's doing with his spy network.
That's kind of what starts him down like the road of like, not the dark side, but like that's kind of what starts him back on the path of like being caught in between light and dark again. Because now processing the guilt of like not being there, not having information, like, you know, help somebody. And not to spoil it, but you know, we're getting seeds that, even with like, you know, the Mace Windu comic. It's like that was kind of rearing its head, especially when he was dipping into like a pod, you know.
I think in the Mace Windu comic they mentioned like a bunch of like, or is the conversation between Thom. I don't want to get too ahead. I'm just kind of like using that to relate to Quinlan's like mindset, but they mentioned like there are so many like Padawans that don't have any masters anymore because like so many have already died in a couple of months, like starting. Yeah. Not counting Geonosis, so many have already died, and then you have like the ones who don't want to fight because they don't see it as like the Jedi way. And then all this shit is just weighing on Quinlan. Like, just imagine you're a soldier. You don't want to fight. Like, you want to be on the front lines. Like, any good soldier, he wants to be on the front lines with his buddies, fighting and dying beside them. Like, you get thrust into some bullshit mission. You're deep in enemy territory. You're deep in like the scum of the fucking like galaxy. And then you have to like, Quinlan's, he makes a spy network. Then what next? I guess the best comparison is you're some like British or U.S. agent in occupied France. You make this big ass spy network for 2 fucking years, and it ends up all being bullshit. And you have the Normandy invasion. The good guys come in, but like it's still like you did all that for 2 fucking years. You probably watched your friends get tortured, like by Nazi like police. You fucking got chased by dogs, chased by SS. Watched your friends fucking die. You probably got captured yourself and tortured a couple of times. And then you realize it's all for fucking jack shit. And that's kind of like the thing that hits me the most. Because I can kind of relate to that. Like, you do a bunch of stuff for like a certain period of time, and you realize it's all kind of bullshit. So it's like that feeling just hits you really hard. And I kind of resonated with that.
Yeah, like the work doesn't like yield, and it doesn't have like equivalent yield.
Yeah, there's no fruits of your labor. It's just all for like seemingly nothing.
I mean that's part of storytelling. Like,
yeah,
it's the seed that's planted for like how he's gonna be caught in the middle, but also like it's just a theme in general that we're gonna see at least in Shatterpoint again, where it's like the whole aftermath of what happened on Geonosis. It can mentally like break a Jedi. Like,
yeah,
not to get off the rails too much, but like Depa Billaba is an example of that. Quinlan is kind of an example of that. But you can go on.
I think I'm like at the tail end of my whole thing, but like it's just I think it's a fascinating thing that you go like the whole war. It gives everyone scars, and it's not just physical. A lot of it can be mental. You can come out of something and not been shot, not been wounded, but you got to deal with all this like PTSD and like this mental trauma. And I'm sure like let's say we had gotten a novel like about Quinlan Voss these 2 years, or like Quinlan was just thinking like I could be out there fighting, like trying to like prevent as many Padawans from being killed, but I'm stuck here. I have to do this. I have to like keep my spy network afloat, and it's like that could be pretty compelling conflict for a novel of Quinlan.
Depending on the spy network, it sounds fillerish, but it could be kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. I do want to point out though, I think it's important that they bring up the death count of Geonosis, and this could be an inaccurate number because I'm not sure. I think some sources may like differ, but Quinlan says that 200 people died on Geonosis, like 200 Jedi Geonosis,
and it's 200.
I think that the number it matters because it's not like you're just saying it for fluff, but it's to emphasize like how many people, like the insane amount of people that he cannot save.
Yeah. And also to put into perspective, like the Jedi Order at its peak during the Clone Wars was like 10,000. They've already lost like 200 Jedi. Not even like the first battle of the Clone Wars. Like 200 are already gone. I mean, it may not like sound like much. May not be a large number in proportion to like the total number of Jedi, but 3 years of conflict, like as we're probably going to see, like the Clone Wars is going to get like brutal. It's going to drag on, and we know Palpatine and Dooku, they want to keep it going for as long as possible, and that number is just going to go up and up, and it's going to keep going up. It's not going to stop.
I mean, the number's going up. I was just like tying it directly to what we're talking about. We're just like that's where the guilt comes from. Like that's not just a single life he couldn't have saved. That's 200 people that like fucking like died,
Yeah.
Yep.
Quinlan Voss is out here on his undercover mission, but like that could just be like the conflict, like you said, or like I said, like the novel. Just his main conflict is that mental trauma. But at least he has Colleen, and hopefully, like she can help him through that. So I'm kind of looking forward to how that relationship progresses. But those are my thoughts on the Quinlan comic, the Quinlan Ayla comic.
All right. Well, what about the others that are in the trade?
Defense of Kamino. I thought Defense of Kamino. That's not my favorite. My favorite's still the Mace Windu one, but Defense of Kamino. I mean, I'm just a stickler for military stuff. The first comic, I actually have a whole little mini spiel about the scene where Quinlan and Obi-Wan are talking about Anakin, and then Ayla and Anakin are talking, and she's trying to comfort him, and it just kind of feels like it's an intentional parallel, because I kind of see, like, at that point in time, or I kind of see their relationship as like a better version of Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like it's an idealized version. It's what they're supposed to be. Like Quinlan, of course, Quinlan has his moments, but like he has Ayla's interests at heart. Like he's the master that like he should be, and like Obi-Wan feels like he's not doing enough. He's not. He doesn't understand Anakin like he should. Like he was thrust into the position. He didn't want to be Anakin's master. He was honoring Qui-Gon's like last wish. So just think it's maybe intentional. Could be an intentional parallel. I like to think it is. That like Quinlan and Ayla, that's what Obi-Wan and Anakin would be if they like fully trusted each other, because they have a pretty dysfunctional relationship. Like it's not to say they don't care about each other. They do. It's just Anakin has a lot of psychopathic tendencies, and Obi-Wan isn't prepared to deal with this. Like, he was still a Padawan when he took Anakin on, so... I think it was a cool, cute scene between, like... And both are happening at the same time, so... And then Anakin's visions. I think that also... Like, Anakin in the beginning of the comic has a vision of Obi-Wan, like, dying. Of course, that doesn't happen, but... kind of, I guess maybe that's a parallel to not Revenge of the Sith, but like Anakin just has these visions. He doesn't know how to deal with them, and it's just a source of insecurity. Like Anakin wants to be able to save like everyone he can, and I guess that's going to be a thing in the future comics, future arcs. But Anakin, like this war. Gonna tear the poor kid up. As we see, he's gonna chew him up and spit him out, but
Yep.
And then we got the cool space combat and the fucking that one Jedi just getting ass blasted to oblivion.
Ass blasted. Good one.
I don't know if I'm like wording it like I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but like the whole thing with Anakin's visions is just I kind of feel like that's like the first inkling of like him going to the dark side, because like all these visions he has, he wants to like be able to just hyper focus and try and prevent this shit from happening. And he can't. Sometimes he can't. Sometimes he can, and it just leads him to Palpatine. But again, he turns to the dark side because he wants to save his wife from dying, and that kind of feel like is bullshit. Because I mean, my whole theory with that is that was induced by Palpatine. Now for the Django's Legacy, that comic, I like my military slop, and this was good. Like this was like straight from like the fucking like straight from the 5-star trough, like fucking like military fucking like badassery.
5-star trough.
The 5-star trough. I was like my big fucking spoon and my fucking propeller hat, and I'm like eating like the giant bowl of like Clone Wars slop.
Oh my gosh.
That shit was badass.
Yeah, Ken and a propeller hat. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken and a propeller hat,
yeah. Fiend.
I can almost like I was thinking of the Boba Fett books, like the way Django talks and acts, and even in like the movie. Like from how the way the ARC troopers talk, it's like they aren't like they're clones of Django yet, but these are the ones that they're trained by Django, and they have all the extra like the stuff. So they're a bit snappy, they're a bit rude, as Obi-Wan and Anakin.
They're jerks, dude. They're jerks.
They are jackasses. They're fiends.
Yeah. They're not jackasses.
They're badasses though.
They're blunt. They're just very blunt, but they're not dickheads.
They're not doing it to be mean. They're just like in their programming to be blunt. They're just like, hey, these are the stakes, buddy.
Well, they don't even have programming. Like they're independent thinkers. It's just like that's their way of the name Django's Legacy. Actually, I'll get into that like during my thoughts, but I'm just gonna say to you that they're not dickheads. That's just like Django's personality rubbing off on them.
Yeah, I thought was cool. They also have a badass armor. Like the art in that comic was dope. But the main clone, who I'm assuming is later, he's just gonna be known as Alpha. He's like, they
Alpha 17.
Yep, Alpha 17. They get pushed into the fucking like the last chamber of clones. They're like the clones are getting their shit kicked in. All the droids are killing them, and well, Alpha's just like, you know what? They either grow up to serve the Republic, or they don't grow up at all. He's like, I'm just gonna blow it up. I'm gonna blow up all these fucking clone kids. And Obi-Wan and Anakin and Shakti, like there has to be another way, and they flood. They destroy part of the walkway, and it floods. It floods all the droids, gets rid of them. They use the Force to like clog up the door, so like it doesn't flood into the room, and they disable the self-destruct sequence, and well, mission accomplished. Save the clone babies. But I don't know. I think that was a cool, badass fucking comic. And there's like the undertones of like, well, I don't know if that's like their programming. Like the ARC troopers are programmed. I guess that's just they're willing to do whatever it takes so that the Separatists don't get these clones. Like they're willing to kill.
I mean, that's what I was saying about it. There's no programming at all. Like they're not programmed. Okay. They're independent thinkers completely. It's just like Django drilled that into them.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, they just that's I guess that's the ARC troopers like decision to just like, okay, if these clones are gonna like be captured, like we're just gonna blow them up. We can't let that happen. And I think that's fucking wild. Like they're like a few months into the war. That's some dark shit's already fucking like the potential for some dark shit to happen has already happened.
And I mean, the story we had read previously, you may not remember because this was months now at this point. We're so busy in the dark times.
Mm-hmm.
Is that and Star Wars Tales 13, I think it was. Mm-hmm. There was a whole Kamino and nanovirus. It's like the entirety of like Kamino, like all the clones would have just like been like, I don't know, not sterilized, but they all been just like killed en masse.
Yeah.
With like the Kaminoan that had like the little syringe doesn't hurt all of them. Do you remember that?
I remember that comic. Yeah, it was the whole virus. They were gonna kill all the clones, but then you had the Ayla, just those like kiss quotation marks.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just forgetting two things that are happening. Like the clones are like, well, the Kaminoan's a separatist agent. He wants to just wipe out the clones, but like the fact that the clones are willing to do that to their own for the sake of just like not having them fall into the hands of the separatists is pretty wild. Is it on brand for like is the ARC troopers are independent? Yeah. I think a lot of special forces units and militaries would make that kind of decision. Like better to the enemy to not have it. Better than be dead. I mean, I've seen a lot of shows, I've seen a lot of games where like you have the hard ass special forces, they do that kind of shit. So it's not that I wasn't surprised. I just like in Star Wars, like thought it was crazy if the clones would do that. I mean, then again, you had it's one thing to have the bad guys want to kill like all these like unborn like these clone like children, but like having like the good guys, the ARC troopers, like do that to their own. That was pretty interesting twist. So that's my thoughts on that comic. And then the last one, I think I'll have to come back to the comic with the Mon Calamari. It was cool, but didn't hold my attention as much as the other two, to be honest. It wasn't bad or anything. I just wasn't there for me. So I'll probably have to come back to it after you guys give me your thoughts.
Now for the attention because it's Empire at War character.
Of course. Empire at War.
Hell yeah.
Get your eyeballs on that page like glue.
Yep.
But
Tidus knows.
Yeah. He's a standard fiend.
Mm-hmm.
Lance the standard Empire at War fiend.
Admiral Mirai. Hell yeah.
But the Empire,
whatever hell his rank was. I don't know.
Mon Calamari, Admiral, like Mirai.
Captain Mirai.
I guess
Captain
the one
Mirai.
thing
He's a captain and has a whole damn Lucasfilm.
Sure. That's the one thing I'll say, like the end of the comic, is that Dooku like shows some like not remorse, like it's wasted potential. And I think that's more like Palpatine, like him misinterpreting like, oh, Palpatine, like this dude's like a pawn to Palpatine. But I just think that's interesting. Like, I mean, TCW Dooku doesn't give a shit who you are. But I mean, this version of Dooku is clearly more nuanced. Like, he sees potential in someone, he's gonna take it, and he sees like wasted potential. He's like, oh well, shit. Well, Mirai's dead now. Well, what a shame. What a shame. I mean, I guess it was nice to see like the fucking Confederacy isn't all droids and circuits. And I'm sure we're gonna see that later on with Jabim. With the Jabim military, but
yeah, that is coming up soon.
But the Confederacy, like, if you think like the Confederacy is all like droids, I mean, you have people like this. You have like the Mon Calamari. They come in, they help, they get destroyed, and they get their asses whipped and then flee. But it's not all droids, not all robots. But for the Mace Windu comic, what stands out to me the most, I mean, aside from the fights, were fucking dope. Like Ventress fucking is taking out all these Jedi, turning them against each other, and it's revealed that Sora Bulk is like the traitor. Wants to turn all the Jedi. He's gonna kill Mace Windu, and he's gonna go back to the Council and be like, "Well, I'm the only survivor. I'm here to turn more Jedi to my cause." But the one thing that I like about it is it's not like one side versus the other. Like the Jedi that are against the Order they all are in it for like different reasons, or at least their reasons are different enough. It's not like they're all like, we hate like the Republic, we're gonna like fight. You had the one young human Jedi who just like is adamantly against Windu, just doesn't like him, doesn't trust him, and he's like, we should fight for the Separatists, we should fight for the Confederacy. Then you have the Deveronian Jedi, who's like, I'm not sure if the Republic, like, that we know, like, if it's worth fighting for, like if we continue to fight for the Republic, we're going to be corrupted. And you have all these different viewpoints. It's like, I think that's a lot more interesting than having like one group of like heretical Jedi. And I thought that's what it was going to be, but it surprised me. And I was like, okay, all these Jedi with different viewpoints. And so I wonder if that's going to get explored even more, like later down the road.
So, it's nuance, and I'm going to say one thing real quick. I hate to bring TCW up, but it's this kind of nuance that TCW really was missing, I think.
Yeah.
Unique things like this. Oh, not every Jedi was on board with being a general in the Clone Army. Not every Jedi agreed with that. Not every Jedi wanted to be a separatist, but not every Jedi liked the Republic. It's
I don't like that about TCW.
I like that
either.
But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, it's not even just that. It's just that every Jedi who is against the Order, they have their own personal viewpoint or philosophy, and it's not just evil heretics. Which, I mean, they could have gone for that. They could have done that, and I probably would have not liked that, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go that route. I like that. I prefer that. Like, they could have done some Warhammer shit. Just have these heretical Jedi evil. They all join Sora Bulk's like cult. They wear like stupid fucking black robes with like red trimmings, and they all look stupid and dumb and retarded. But I mean, Like,
I mean, I don't think it was necessarily implied that they were heretical. It was more so that they just didn't want to be generals. I think.
yeah.
I mean, they were Orthodox Jedi, but they didn't want to like be generals. I think I think you might think it's like heresy though, because like they were concerned that a schism might occur, but more so like a schism of Jedi who are like, I guess, on the side of the Separatists. I don't know.
I guess I get that, like, but my whole thing is the concept of them being like a more radical, like they just break from the order, kind of like how the Jedi, like I guess with Bane, like the Jedi would like split and have different like groups.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like that, where like the Jedi of Bane's era were like a lot more radical.
Yep.
But I just think it's an interesting comic. And then Ventress, like her badass introduction, she kills like some monster. That was fucking dope. Is that in the
Hell
six?
yeah.
She's a lot more like, I know, like in conversations we've had, like I rag on Ventress in the EU like a lot, but I mean, this comic sells her as like a threat and like a villain. Like she gets into their fucking head. She gets one of the human Jedi who's like, they're all perky and like upstartish, and he's like just all paranoid. He turns him against the Deveronian Jedi, and she kills him. Like Ventress gets into his head, takes down Crook, takes down the other young alien Jedi, Miri. I think Miri was her name.
Mira, I think.
Mira. But she's like defending Sora Bulk, and the whole Sora Bulk Ventress fight is like a ruse to lure out Mace Windu so Sora can kill him. But Ventress like just cuts her down, and fuck, man, she's so much different from her TCW counterpart. Say what you want about like Ventress's story, like being continued in TCW, like, but like this is a much better introduction than like whatever episode she appears. I don't remember like the introduction in TCW, but she barely kills any Jedi. She barely like she'll get into fights with people, do some stupid witty banter, and she fucks off. Like for most of her appearances.
Her introduction in TCW was Christophsis in the Clone Wars movie. And all it is just implied that she's just a longtime enemy of Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah, it's just like it's good.
And she doesn't really, I mean, she duels them, but it's not nowhere near as interesting as this.
No. And also the whole Obi-Wan thing, like, is like silly because like you have Grievous for that. Like Grievous is already kind of set up as like his rival. But I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's getting off topic. But I mean, Ventress, like, she kicks ass in this. She has some her banter, like, is okay. Back to TCW, I guess. Like her banter in TCW can be fucking goofy, and like the fucking like laugh she does in like the episode with Luminara and Ahsoka, like this shit. It's like
she's goofy. She's goofy as hell in TCW.
I like TCW. Ventress, I will say, she absolutely has like her cold moments in the show, but it's like compared to this comic, she's like an unfeeling psychopath. I mean, there is the underlying thing that Dooku like mentions, like, oh, Mace Windu was like was involved in like your master's death and like Kai Neric's death, and I guess she has that simmering fucking like relishing anger that she wants to hurt, like she wants to kill, she wants to make Mace Windu suffer, but she's just a cold-hearted bitch. Like in this comic, she's fucking around, toying with them, kicking them around, she doesn't give a single fuck. And I think that's just scary and terrifying.
Yep.
But I think those are my thoughts on the Mace Windu comic. It's a solid comic that kind of does some stuff that maybe is going to become not like important, but it's going to be built upon in later comics.
Yep.
And also, I want to see more Ventress kicking ass.
I'm sure we will.
Well, those are my thoughts.
Tidus, my boy Tidus. Your turn.
What's up? Oh, you want me to give my thoughts?
Yep.
So beginning with what was it? Oh yeah, that cover of that comic is so stupid. The Quinlan Voss one. It's not that it's stupid. It's just like the text of it just ruins it. It's like Jedi with a gun. That's
fiendish.
So.
It is kind of strange.
Fiendish. Jedi with a gun.
As if we've
Jedi with a gun.
As if we haven't seen that before. Cough, cough. Like Luke Skywalker.
It's also funny that they're calling it a gun, not a blaster.
Yeah,
it's even funnier.
Not blaster, you know.
What is this? A firearm?
Yeah, it's
Jedi with a firearm.
I need more bullets.
It's even funnier when you think about it in the issue where like he doesn't even really use a blaster for like 2 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it felt like there's a couple panels, not even 2 pages.
Oh yeah, maybe a whole. Maybe I gave it too much credit. Like maybe a few fucking panels, you know?
Yeah, man.
Maybe.
Like it was. I barely remember him using a damn blaster.
So
Shoot.
I mean that makes that cover even funnier. Like it's false advertising and it sounds stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
But
you gotta bait him. You gotta bait him.
You gotta lure him in somehow, you know.
Engagement bait.
But the story itself, though, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it's like I was saying with you and Ken, is that it just plants the seeds for like where Quillen's story is now going, because we left off at like he's not at peace totally, but he is like more calm. He's more like resolved, and rite of passage. Yeah, he's at his high point, And now we kind of like figure out, since we're back to the ongoing plot, how do we bring him back down to where there's some conflict? So that's when you throw the whole curveball of, I wasn't there for Geonosis. Like my information wasn't good enough. Like people died. 200 people died on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what eases him back into like the dark side. So like, I think developmentally wise, like it's going somewhere good. Ayla, I don't really think Ayla did too much. I mean, she's in the story like a lot in the comic, but I personally don't really feel like that she did a whole lot. I guess like even Colleen. I mean, Colleen, she was introduced here, but she didn't. She kind of did something. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because we're just getting back to the groove things. Like these characters just been reintroduced. After the little break in the first series. But I thought it was fine. I don't think it's like this is like a home run issue, but it's good. Good setup. Good art. The action, I didn't really care for the fight with the one guy. I forgot his name. We're talking about the following. No, I didn't really.
I don't forgot his name too.
Yeah, it was some
Zenix.
Something like that.
Zenix, Krennic.
And I didn't really give a shit, man, because it's just like his whole he tried using his same gimmick twice in a row. It's like, let me use my pheromones.
Now that I think about that.
And of course he didn't use it on Quillen because he didn't want to be caught, being gay, So he didn't use that shit on him.
Can't be caught using his pheromones on other men.
That is true.
I mean, you could.
You could, but it's like, he didn't want to be caught with his pants down,
Just imagine if Prince Diesel were like seduced like Han instead of Leia. Like, imagine that.
Yeah, he seduced the fucking carbonite.
Yeah, he breaks him out of carbonite just to seduce him, and then puts him back in once
all right, bro.
Don't work.
Okay,
we get it, Ken. You're a hedonist. We get it, bro.
Yeah, I get it.
But no, it's like I don't know. I didn't really care for the whole fight. It's like it's just, I guess it's repetitive. Is kind of what the point I was making. Where it's like you did it once and did it twice, and it's like, all right, bro, we get it. You're a one-trick pony. Like, we're not going for blasters, so you have to rely on your sexual lore, your sexual rapey superpower. It's kind of weird, but that was the first issue. I thought it was okay. Readable, good setup, but that's about it. Defense of Kamino. This is pretty good, but I'm kind of with like Ken, where I think that each three of the stories, they're not the same. I don't rank them the same. I'd rank Django's Legacy probably the highest. Second highest, honestly, I'd say the second highest is probably the Mirai story. Third one, I have to give it to the Anakin Obi-Wan one. And I say that because the Anakin Obi-Wan story, I don't think there's anything entirely wrong with it. I just really hate Anakin's dialogue. It's like, I think it is a good, emotional setup, and it is set up for his arc in the comic. But I just really hate like the way he speaks. I hate his inflections because it does feel like how he talks in Attack of the Clones. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it's grating.
They had to be consistent.
Yeah, be consistent with it. It's like he sounds so passive aggressive. The other sounds passive aggressive. It just sounds like psychotic. It's like, especially when he's talking about like the Ayla, he's at his peace best when like he's just working hands. Like he's in the midst of just like working, and that's pretty fair. I mean that's good characterization of him. But it just kind of just like flips it on its head like in a whole negative angle. Where it's like, he has to save Obi-Wan when his Delta 7 crashes down and the little dumb aliens come out. He's just slashing at him, hacking at him. And then Obi-Wan's like, "Oh, Anakin, are you all right?" "Oh, don't worry, Master. I'm at peace." And he gives like that fuck-ass smile. It's like, dude, like he's at peace, like murdering. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of like that doubles down on that shit from like Attacking the Clones where, slaughter the Tuskens. And I'm like, man,
I killed them all.
Like I don't know if I'd call this development per se, but like I don't know, it's kind of strange.
Well, I mean,
Anakin is like a bit sus.
These are the seeds of his downfall. It's the seeds of his downfall. Like
no, it is dead ass.
Yeah,
he's meant to be. I think I would say psychotic per se. I would say like the fact that he gets a thrill or feels at peace.
He's definitely disturbed
with fighting.
Yeah,
is interesting. Now, I wish there was like a panel where Obi-Wan's like, "Anakin, we talk," or at least like he's thinking to himself, "What? Like, why?"
Yeah, that's kind of glossed over.
I mean, Obi-Wan should have like a proper reaction to that shit because he low-key just let it roll off his shoulders.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, okay, you feel good killing a bunch of things, okay."
If I might go on like a little like,
as long as you're happy, Anakin. As long as you're happy.
Yeah, as long as you're happy, Anakin.
As long as you're happy, you can kill as many. That's kind of
you're so thoughtful, Master. Thank you.
That whole moment's like scary to me because like that shit like the whole pertaining to like the whole war and like the Clone Wars is like people like that fucking like actually exist. Like I mean, people enlist in like the military. Like people become like Navy SEALs, Rangers. They just want to go kill people. They don't give it a second thought, and that's like terrifying. And the fact that Obi-Wan doesn't have like a reaction, like you're saying, he doesn't have a reaction to like Anakin's like school shooter-esque fucking tendencies. Like, oh, you enjoy killing? What the fuck's wrong with you? But again, I guess that's the seeds of Anakin being an unhinged, like mentally disturbed like kid.
I think it's a fault of both the multimedia project on one account, and I do think it's the fault of TCW. And this really doesn't have anything to do with like this story exactly, but it's about this concept we're talking about. Is that neither version of the Clone Wars account, Obi-Wan never actually addresses to Anakin what the hell happened on Tatooine. Like we never actually get a conversation like what was Obi-Wan's reaction to hearing him killing the Tuskens, him doing all this evil ass shit. He just he almost like he probably knows about it, but he doesn't even like bring it up. He doesn't think it's like worth talking about. But I think like for their relationship to really progress, I think it would make most sense for them to unpack like what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a story where it's established that he knows about it?
Well, I'm just assuming. Like I don't really know if he does know about it. I would just imagine like if there's like one of Anakin's biggest burdens on what happened that day, you would imagine that he would try to communicate with like his master, like someone who spent 10 years with someone he thinks that he can trust. And it's like this never happens. Not in Disney canon, not in the EU. They never have a conversation about like what happened that day. I just feel like that would be a natural progression of the relationship if they talked about it.
This is kind of like why I also said like the whole Quinlan, their scenes with Quinlan and Ayla respectively, like their relationship that we've seen progress throughout these comics, like before the Clone Wars. It's like that's the idealized version of Anakin and Obi-Wan. If they'd actually like talked about their problems and not like Anakin acting like an unhinged, like smug asshole, Obi-Wan doubting himself and like his ability to teach Anakin and help him learn.
I would say like the only way he could have found out is if Yoda told him, because Yoda knows. He felt it.
Yeah, he felt it in the Force.
So the only way I can imagine he found out is that Yoda told Obi-Wan, but it's also probably a good bet that maybe Yoda didn't tell him, because maybe he felt that would create more of a rift in their relationship because maybe he felt Obi-Wan would overreact over it. Who knows? But
I mean, but why wouldn't Anakin confide in him though? It's like that. That's like the thing I don't really understand. Like either continuity even addresses. It's like Like, you know, of course, Anakin has a strained relationship with Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones, of course. But you would imagine that, like, you know, if he really is his best friend, if he really is like, you're like a father to me, like, don't you think you like confide in him about that shit?
I mean, I would say no, and the reason why is, I mean, just because he's like a father figure doesn't mean that he would want it, because he knows what he did was wrong. And more than that, it wasn't just wrong, he enjoyed it. And he slaughtered a whole Tusken village, you know? So I would say no. Like, why would he? Unless, like, the only way I could see him talking about it with him is if Yoda tells Obi-Wan. And then Anakin finds out, and then Anakin talks to Obi-Wan about it. But I don't know. I see Anakin going to Yoda more than Obi-Wan. I don't know.
I think if Obi-Wan like knows, I think it's worse to me personally, because like, I mean, I'm assuming Anakin does shit like this again and again in the comics, and Obi-Wan has to continue to like just turn a blind eye and fucking ignore it, and it's like kind of like that just feels like he's being irresponsible. Like there are clearly like warning signs that Anakin is like turning into something like bad, and Obi-Wan's just like, whatever.
And Anakin doesn't really have like an unhinged moment like that throughout the whole multimedia project. I'm just saying that I just think it's kind of just weird to like not even like one occurrence where it's like Anakin thinks to himself, maybe I can trust him with this, you know, like even like especially when he's a knight, because when he's knighted, it's emphasized that his relationship with his relationship with Obi-Wan like grows significantly. It's not the same as Attack of the Clones, so he trusts Obi-Wan a lot more as a knight.
Mm-hmm.
So especially at that point, I'm just thinking to myself, dude, like you've been with this motherfucker like in the war for like, you know, almost 3 years. 3 years at this point. And you still have not told him about like your deepest secret. Like that evil ass shit you did that you relish in. It's like I don't know. Because maybe you would think like, you know, he could turn Obi-Wan as like salvation, you know, like maybe like console him, confide in him about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe later on in the war, he probably should have told him. But I think early on, at least while Anakin's still a Padawan, no. I don't think so.
I just think it's weird that like the conversation never happens in general. I guess it's like the broader point of like what I was saying. And and even like Disney canon, like, you know, like they're proclaimed like, you know, new creative like roots and like, you know, like new storytelling opportunities, guys. It's like
that was a fucking lie.
Miss like actual opportunities to tell stories that have not been explored. Like instead, you want to make bullshit, you know? Like they have a whole book about Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, brotherhood. But like even in that novel, there's no real intimate conversation about what the hell happened. Yeah,
that's an early Clone Wars novel, right?
It's an early Clone Wars novel too, but like he becomes knighted in like the middle of it. He becomes knighted in the beginning of it.
Interesting. Yeah, that novel should have explored it.
Yeah, like that novel, a novel about their relationship, like about just them. That should have explored that shit. It's like they waste their page count. Actually, let me not go off. Let me not go off on that note of things. But
yeah,
they basically espouse bullshit, you know.
I mean, there's that transgender clone.
Nah, dude. See, look, you do, bro. You spilled the beans, man. You spilled the beans, dude.
You spilled
you mentioned brotherhood, not me.
I literally said, let me not say that shit, and then you go on and say it anyway, bro. Jesus. Jesus
God,
Christ.
Lance, you gotta like
no self-restraint, bro. You got no self-restraint.
You gotta splurge, Lance. Like, bro's gotta like bust a load.
Not in that crap.
Got no self-restraint, dude. I was trying not to divulge in that bullshit. Anyway.
Oh, Lance.
Anyway, back on topic, guys. This didn't happen. Cut.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cut this part out. But anyway, cut.
Nah, we have to cut this part out, bro. Cut.
Dude, I'm not cutting this out. It's too funny.
Anyways.
But anyhow, anyway, you know, anyhow. I'm just saying originally though, his mannerisms, attitude, it I guess it does make sense coming off the heels of Attack of the Clones. I just think that like sometimes the dialogue is almost trying a little bit too hard to recreate like how he sounds in the movie, because it just sounds like kind of just either like weird, it's awkward. Beyond that, I thought the action was pretty cool. Obi-Wan and Quinlan's talk was pretty nice. the stuff with Quinlan and Ayla in the story regarding like Obi-Wan and Anakin, it is like that's probably the best moments in that whole issue, or at least the whole story, rather. But the actual like fights, it's kind of like Django's Legacy, that I would say, like I said, that's probably my favorite. And I really don't have anything too specific to say on it, but just like, I thought it was really good. The art could be better. It wasn't Dosema that did that story, but it was pretty good. But I was gonna add on to what Ken was saying earlier, and I was gonna explain like significance of that name and Alpha's attitude towards everything, because I was telling Ken that Alpha is not like rude or like he's not a dickhead or it's not like programmed or whatever. It's just that what Django taught them is that they are his legacy in a way. They're as much of his legacy as Boba Fett is, And for them to honor his legacy, they have to follow the explicit instructions that like preserve him in a way that like honors Django. I guess that sounds a little bit circular what I'm saying, but I guess what I'm meaning is that if it comes to the grits of like having to destroy everything that you just did for the past 10 years, then that's honoring Django. It's not like you're being like a dickhead or you're just like doing like this insane brash decision. It's like that is what would honor his legacy. Just destroying the whole material so no one can access it. It won't be used for like what he signed up for specifically. Like he conscripted himself for a Republic army. He didn't do it for the droids. That's not his wishes. So that's why Alpha decides to do that. I mean, he even gets onto the kid where it's like saying like the kid doesn't know how to fight for himself. He doesn't know like defend himself with a blaster. And he says to him like you should know better because you're Django's legacy. Like as a clone, you were bred as a fighter. Like you were meant to be an adept fighter. So you not being able to defend yourself is kind of dishonoring to Django. Like that's like Alpha's emphasis. It's like his emphasis is on to like what Django did, what was his wishes, what is the weight of like him giving up his material for a clone army. It's like he's very by the book in that sense. Like, does that make more sense, Ken?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I kind of felt like I did a piss poor job of explaining my point. Like what you're saying makes a lot more sense, and kind of what I was trying to like convey is like these clones are they're trying to honor his legacy, and like I mean, as fucked up as it is, like killing, like destroying all these like unborn like clones who are sitting in their tubes, like that's what Django would have wanted. That's kind of just honoring his own legacy, like all this work, like years and years of toil that the Kaminoans did, and like all his training, like can't let it fall into like the wrong hands. And I mean, if destroying that means it's honoring his legacy, like so be it.
I mean, I don't know if I'm morally wrong for saying this shit, but like I don't really think it's fucked up because like I mean, to me, it's like if that's not what Django signed up for, right? Like if Django did not sign up for like the clones being like misused under the CIS and like Alpha wants to destroy them because he doesn't want a scenario to play out, then I think that is just in that situation.
That is true. Like if the clones like
I don't think that's like an evil action.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's like evil. It's just like a hard moral choice that he has to make, or like he kind of wants for like this. It's a difficult moral decision because either you kill. I mean, you have these clones that are bred for nothing but war. In a sense, they're kind of like a parallel to the droids, but they're like flesh and blood. They can feel pain. They scream. They cry. I mean, they fucking get these injuries. They're in pain. Like anyway, like it's flesh and blood, and fuck. Oh my god, word salad. I forgot what I was saying. You can take the reins.
No, it's okay, bro. I mean, I was just saying that like there's like a method to like what they do, to what Alpha does, and like what he talks about. It's like that's the namesake of the story. Like, it's Django's legacy. Like that's really just everything's about. Everything Django ingrained to him, everything that he signed up for, everything like that he did is what he's trying to live by, and he thinks like every clone should lead by
yeah. Like, they should lead by Django's example.
Yeah, like they should follow in his footsteps.
Yeah.
So, I think That's pretty cool, and like that's one reason why Alpha, he is probably my favorite clone trooper. Just in general. But I don't know. Like besides that, the story like it was kick ass. So like that, the action, the fight scenes were pretty cool. Joe Shakti is kind of funny because like her lightsaber color is fucking green. It's like she has a green lightsaber.
Isn't it blue? Like in Force Unleashed is blue.
It's blue in Attack of the Clones. But for that reason, they gave her a green one. But you know, color mishaps happen all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Plo Koon, for example, has gone through like 4 lightsaber colors. Like originally it was gold, then orange, then it was green, and then I think it was Clone Wars Adventures where Plo Koon got his blue lightsaber from, and then TCW. Well, actually, no, I take that back because Attack of the Clones, he had a damn blue lightsaber. But then fucking Republic gave him a green one. Clone Wars Adventures gave him a blue one again, and then TCW gave him a blue one. But generally speaking, like he has gone through 4 different colors. If we're just being technical here.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, literally, bro. I mean, it happens with like a bunch of these characters. Especially characters who never actually pull out their lightsabers in movies. It's like it was always just kind of like up to whatever the artist felt like what their color was that day. Because Saisi 10, for example, before Revenge of the Sith came out, Saisi 10 had a blue lightsaber in some comics. And I just didn't really get it because it's like, I mean, hell, he had a purple one in that one comic we read, Infinity's End. So, I don't know. I was basically just going off on the fact like they have inconsistent colors, but no. Besides that, it's pretty good story. Third one, I know I said it's my second favorite, but it's like really it's only really my favorite because I just like Mirai. He's the noble commander. It's like his thing to me is that he's not like some selfish dude that like signed on to Confederacy just for like for glory or whatever. It is because like he generally thinks like he's getting relief to his people. Now I do think it's weird though, in totality of like the lore, because he's among calamari, right? And we know that the Corn Isolation League, they are part of the CIS. Like the Corns, they work with them. So I'm just trying to think like politically, what is Mirai like actually, fighting for with the CIS? Because generally speaking, it's like the Corn, their political situation is more in line with what the Separatists have in mind. I can't possibly fathom what a Mon Calamari would want to do with Dooku. And plus, like I was saying with the video games, when we talked about those briefly, is that they don't really share continuity stuff because they're not really multimedia projects. They're basically like Attack of the Clones tie-in games. Like the Clone Wars 2002 is not really a Clone Wars game. It is technically because it is set as a Clone Wars, but it serves more as like an Attack of the Clones tie-in. And what I mean by that is like, it's not even referenced in here. It's like literally in that game, Mon Calamari gets bombed by Dooku. Like the Force Harvester gets used on it, and he genocided like a bunch of Mon Calamari. And that's chronologically 2 months before this. So I'm just thinking, what the hell would Mirai want to join the dude is like genocide his people for? Yeah, but that's just get inside the lore of it. Like that's like lore technicalities. Where it's like it doesn't really fucking make sense if you think about it. But no, I like him because like he's an honorable dude. He sacrificed himself for his crew, and he tried like winning the situation even though like it was rigged against him. So I can respect him more than most CIS like naval commanders that we are given, because to be fair, they're either like really selfish or just like really just cowardly, Mirai is different because it's like he does have strong convictions and he does care about his crew. He's not just like some selfish bastard. But also I just like the space stuff. Like I like naval battles and space star dogfights. That's just cool. But Jedi Mace Windu, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on it. It was good. I remember enjoying it the first time I read it. It's good upon a reread, but I don't really have too much to say about the whole schism. I do think it is an angle that comes up again in Shatterpoint, but it's really not anything I have too much of a take on. Kruk and the Deveronian girl, her name is Cyan Giselle. Also, fun fact for you guys who are watching, and I guess you guys too, that Cyan Giselle is actually based on Jander Simmons' daughter. So
badass.
Really,
yep.
that's cool. That's dope.
That's their Simmons' daughter's name is Cyan. And
that's
when
cool.
she was making her, that she had named her after her. Actually, if you go on Cyan's like Wikipedia page, her daughter actually went as a cosplay for her. Like she cosplayed the character that her mom based on her.
Awesome.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
She's one of my favorite Jedi too in the comic series Cyan. But Kruk was badass. The fights, I mean, the sword bulk was pretty cool. But I don't know. I don't know. It's like it's not like I'm saying the story's bad. It's just like I don't really have any distinctive like opinions about the story. I just thought that like it was pretty good, and this is stuff that like I think gets expanded upon in like Shatterpoint, a novel that gives it a lot more attention. Where I can probably have more to say about it. Aside from that, that's pretty much all my thoughts on it. Agree with you.
Nice.
Before
From what I can see, we're going an hour. Oh, we're an hour in. Awesome. That shows you guys how much this comic, how much we actually really liked it.
It shows you how great
There's a lot to say about. Well, it's also a fairly long comic, but
yeah.
Nah, man, don't say sorry. Shoot, I love that it's this long. My thoughts. Somewhat the same. Now, what's interesting is the Quinlan and Ayla story I really enjoyed. But my favorite out of all, it was about 5 stories here, 5 story arcs. It is the Anakin and Obi-Wan story, which is interesting because I know it was Tidus's least favorite. Or at least out of the issue 50 stories, the 3 stories that were in there. I thought it was my favorite. Because, well, first of all, I just love Anakin and Obi-Wan. I mean, I think Anakin and Luke are my favorite Star Wars characters. And to see Anakin struggle, I don't know. I just really liked it. Yeah, the dialogue is cheesy. It's corny. But it's Anakin, and he's a cheesy character in the prequels, at least.
I don't think the dialogue is cheesy. I just think like it's kind of like forced. I don't know.
It's written like George Lucas would write it. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's like a bad imitation of Lucas though. Like at least like Lucas is like naturally awkward. It's like I don't think it was Ostrander didn't write this one, did he?
Yeah, he wrote that one.
He wrote this one. I don't know. I guess like maybe I'm misremembering it. I just remembered it was kind of like an awkward imitation of like how Lucas like writes it, and that's saying something because Lucas already writes like dialogue pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but I didn't really feel that way when I read it. It just felt like Anakin to me, I guess. But I really liked it. I liked how both, there was a story. I like how Obi-Wan was learning from Quinlan, who is trained a Jedi by this point, and Anakin is learning from Ayla, who recently became a Jedi Knight. I don't know. I just thought it was really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the Shakti and Alpha 17 comic. That was really, really good. I think Alpha was certainly the standout in that comic. I loved reading his dialogue and what he had to say. I thought it was very interesting. It was very different. Well, to me, it was a different approach to a clone. Even though it's one of the original approaches to clones. But I thought it was really good. The Mirai story was fun as someone who likes Empire War. because he is a character in there. It is, and it's also just a, it is a space sort of battle story, but it was somewhat boring. I'm not gonna lie. And then the last story with Mace Windu, I thought was really, really good too. I love the way Mace was portrayed in this. He's not portrayed as like an arrogant dickhead like Filoni portrays him. He's portrayed as an honorable Jedi. In fact, there's many times when people are trying to accuse him of things, and Crook and Sora Bulk are like, no, Mace would never do that. Which I enjoyed. I just like that portrayal of Mace. I just like it. It makes him, it makes you respect him more. It makes you understand why he's even in the position, because he's the second in command. Sort of. He's the number two.
Senior.
Yeah, he is right behind Yoda in terms of seniority. So, if he was a dickhead and if he just treated people like that, I don't think he would have gotten to this point. But the fact that they're showing him, as an honorable Jedi who's compassionate, he actually cares about other Jedi. He's actually acknowledging their concerns, saying, maybe you got a point about the Republic being corrupt, but we're gonna fight for what the ideals of the Republic are, because if those ideals are true, then we can reform the Republic on the inside. And I like that. I like that he was, in fact, that's probably the thing that stood out the most to me. And again, I'm looking at these stories from the perspective of someone who's watched TCW and all the Filoni stuff, and I'm seeing how these characters originally were, and it's amazing. I just love the way Mace was portrayed in this, and it makes you like him. You're not supposed to dislike Mace. No, you're not supposed to. That is a Disney canon thing. He is an honorable character who cares about people. He cares about his fellow Jedi. Even at the end, the very last page was just really good. The very last panel, because after I'm gonna read some more dialogue because I love this. At the end, after they escape Rune, in regard to the other Jedi and their decision on if they want to be a general or not, this is what Mace tells them. He says, "Whatever your choice, we on the council will honor it, so long as it does not lead you to the dark side. There can be no schism if we keep our hearts and minds open to one another. We're all one in the Force. We're all Jedi." I just thought that was awesome. Like it makes you like Mace a lot as a character. That's how, even though he disagrees with his fellow Jedi, he will respect them, he'll honor them, because they're all Jedi in the end. They all have the same ideas, or ideals. They all follow the same code. I like that. What else can I talk about? There's a lot in this, but I loved every story. I really did, and I think so far, out of everything we've read during Vode An, this is my favorite so far. I'm sure this will change later. But I loved it. I thought it was great. In fact, I couldn't even hardly put the book down. It was so good. Because of course I read the trade paperback, and it was just really good. The art is beautiful. Jandrasema doesn't do all the art in this, but even the non-Jandrasema stuff, first of all, it looked like Jandrasema. Her artwork, it was very similar to it, but it was really good. Like the Jango's Legacy, that was done by, let me find it here. I don't know who did that. It's not Jandrasema though. It is Stephen Thompson. It looks really good. In fact, it can kind of rival Jandrasema, I think. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. Battle of Kamino, you saw 3 different perspectives. Sort of the clone's perspective, Anakin Obi-Wan's perspective, and then Commander Mirai or Captain Mirai's perspective. I think that's Sora Bulk, I think, is a great character. He's also in Empire at War, but I don't know. I don't have anything really negative to say. Ventress is really cool. I forgot she was kind of in it. I like that she's very confident. She's she does joke a little bit. She does Ken mentioned her, she toys with her opponents. And I like that. She's confident, but she's not arrogant. She may be a little arrogant, but she can back it up at least. I don't know. I just really liked it. So that's kind of all of my thoughts. I can't really think of anything else as I'm flipping through this here to talk about, but this is a great start, I think, to the Clone Wars comics, which of course I have not read. So that's all I've got. Do you guys want to add anything else?
No.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it quits for today. Next episode, we're going to be reviewing the first Clone Wars adventure, not the first book, but the first Clone Wars adventure story. It is volume 8. We're going to read. I believe that's the next one. Let me check the timeline here, actually, so I don't lie to you. That's the next book on my shelf, but I don't have everything on the timeline here. Let's see. Yes, so Clone Wars Adventures Volume 8. Those are the little the Dark Horse books that were like emulation. I say emulation, but they're tie-ins to the micro series. The artwork is very micro series like. So, and Tidus said those are very, very good. So I can't wait to read those. There's about 4 stories in each one, so we'll have about 4 stories to talk about next time. So that's all we've got, gentlemen. One last chance. Y'all want to add anything else?
No, I think I'm got it all. No. Got it all put to stream.
All right, awesome. Well, we will see you guys next time. So may the force be with you. Thank you for watching.
Peace.
Peace.